Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Witch on the Holy Night. So last time we did a side story, the whiteboard side story, and it was a pretty fun, simple, chill episode, right? Honestly, I loved it so much. The simple conversations between them was just nice to me. Okay, so we're gonna do the other one again. What is this? No, this one. This one, the Carnegie case. We'll start it. Let's do this. Yes. Chapter 8.5. No matter how busy one is, any person living within human means is certain to have at least some free time. Before or after eating, for example, it's difficult to eliminate the time required to prepare a meal and the time after one finishes eating. This is particularly the case for those who do a lot of thinking. Since the body needs to use energy to digest after eating, there is less available for the brain to use.
ナイキはあれでしょ？ニケの文字でしょ？アテナの持ってる盾じゃなくて小さな勝利の女神の方。陸上競技に勝つってイメージじゃない？
Okay.
さすがブランド品とか大好きな青子さん。どうでもいい知識だけはそれなりっすね。
Mr. Bird, that's the bird, right? He's back. The studious resident of the mansion was now talking refuge on the sofa, looking exhausted. Alka was talking to the robin perched on the table. The blue bird flapped its wings, doing its best to join in on the after-dinner conversation. Alice was reading in the sunroom, discussing of how to deal with the encroaching enemy mage wouldn't starve for at least another 30 minutes. Wait, what?
じゃあアディダスはもしかしてアディオスの文字りっすか？
あれは普通に名前じゃなかったっけ？ほら、グリム童話みたいに作った兄弟の名前がそのままブランド名になっちゃったのよ。
The Brothers Grimm.
ブラザーグリムは童話を作ったわけじゃないわ。埋もれていた口伝を収集して物語に仕立て直して丁寧に編纂した人たちよ。職人というより学者の類ね。まあ多少は詐欺師めいたところもあるけれど。
へえ。じゃあアンデルセンは？人魚姫とか親指姫とか超メジャーだけど。あと醜いアヒルの子。
自分裸の王様とかたまんないっす。シンパシー感じるっすよ。あのクリスタルキングに。
The Emperor's new clothes. That's nice.
アンデルセンは学者というより作家でしょうね。彼の創作意欲は裕福層や大衆、平凡な幸福を得ている人々、果ては女性像への憤りから生まれたものだと言われているし、知的好奇心から筆を取ったのではなく、感情を訴えるために筆を取った人。
Honestly, if you read the actual Little Mermaid, the story is sad, like very sad, compared to like the Disney one. The Disney one had an happy ending. But yeah, most of, I guess, the actual fairy tales is pretty dark. Yeah, very dark.
あまりこういう説明はしたくないのだけれど。それぞれ分けて説明するなら、マザーグースは歌、ブラザーグリムは物語、アンデルセンは寓話ね。
ミツバチマッチはアニメっすね。
True, some of their stories are in our cartoons.
ところで青子さん、アシックスの由来は何すか？
これは私も小学校の頃友達に聞いたものなんで真偽はわからないんだけど、アシックスってもともと3つの会社が合併してできた会社なのよ。で、3社の社長が集まると足が6本になるじゃない？だから足シックス。あくまで俗説だけどね。
Alice had dropped her book on the floor of the sunroom and was biting her lip. She was clearly trying to feign calm and to breathe as if nothing had happened. She thought she was doing a convincing job of it.
あの子の笑いのツボもわかんないわね。
それはどうすかね。あんまりにもつまんなかったから怒ってるのかもしれないっす。だってアリスさん、怒り浸透しても笑顔になるんすよ。自分たまに見るっす。アリスさんの日記を盗み見てると後ろでそういう顔してるっす。それ以上見ると死ぬわよって。でも勘弁してほしいっす。見ちゃうものは見ちゃうっすよ。自分から素行調査を取ったらもう基礎本能しか残らない気もするっす。
The Robin felt compelled to give a counter-argument for some reason. Alco let out a sigh, even Alice sympathized with her over the difficult familiar.
ただいま。お、今日は二人ともいるんだな。
It was at this time that Sojiro returned. He must have just gotten home from this part-time job.
おかえり、お疲れ様。
Alco's warm welcome was quite the opposite from the faint response from the sunroom.
夕食は済ませてきたからいらないよ。じゃあ、夜のバイトに備えてちょっと寝てくる。
Sojiro still gave Alice a wave as he left. The dull thud of something dropping was heard as he entered the hallway.
おーい、なんか落ちたわよ。
Or did he actually drop? I mean, Sojiro himself. Alco peeked out from the sofa to yell for Sojiro.
ああ、ポケットに入れっぱなしだった。
Sojiro calmly and naturally walked back to pick up what looked to be some kind of envelope. Perhaps it was instinct, but the human eye was drawn to emotion even if it was something one had no personal interest in. Aoko keenly followed Sojiro's hand with her eyes. Oh, that's a lot of money though. Jesus. There's a lot. A wad of cash. She had to restrain herself from shouting her thoughts out loud as she leaped up from the sofa. I mean, anyone would be surprised. Yeah, why does Sojiro have this amount of money?
どうした青崎？
どうしたってその。
Aoko found it difficult to come up with a proper response to the pure innocent eyes staring back at her. She was ashamed at how she jumped up at the enticing sight of so much money.
なんでもない。
Why does he have so much money now? What?
そうよね。普通にアルバイトの給料日よね。にしても結構もらってんのね、あんた。
What kind of job is he doing to earn that much? There was an awkward pause before Sojiro smiled and returned back to his room. Aoko sat back down on the sofa, still feeling a bit awkward. This was what set it all off. It began a series of events that the Robin would later name the Dosh Affair. What is that? The Dosh Affair? I wonder what story is this one, the Carnegie case, right? Yeah. Is it gonna be like super serious? Is it gonna be like a joke, the kind of side stuff again? It was the next day and around the same time as the previous day's incident. Aoko was coming to pour some tea and relax when she heard Sojiro and the Robin engage in some kind of debate in the drawing room.
その人が言うには、人と会うたびに小さな親切を尽くしてあげるべきだ。と。そうして一日が終わったら、その親切が何をもたらしたか、よく噛み締めなさいって。たった一回の言葉だけの親切でも、相手にとっては大きな意味があるんだそうだ。それが思いもよらない幸福を運んでくる。
うは、だから自分にビーフジャーキーくれたっすか？でもそれ親切じゃなくて、袖の下っていう伝統芸能じゃないっすかね。アンダーハート見え見えっす。
Sojiro's serious demeanor was more like a consultation or a proposal than it was idle chatter.
まあ、あいつが妙なのはいつものことか。
Ako decided to ignore what was going on in the drawing room and head straight for the sunroom. There, she saw Sojiro's coat on the chair.
ちょっと宗十郎、コート置きっぱなしじゃない。今のコート掛けか自分の部屋に持って行って。
She stopped herself mid-sentence. Again? She could see the same kind of envelope that Sojiro had dropped on the ground yesterday, inside his coat pocket. And it was even thicker than the one she saw the day before. Is, what do you call this? Aoko gonna be like, how is Sojiro getting that kind of money? Is she gonna try to follow him? And it's gonna be like an investigation type of episode? She wouldn't allow herself to make a spectacle about it like she did yesterday. She reminded herself that she was a model student and student council president.
さーて、紅茶っと。
Feigning disinterest, she listened in on the conversation going on in the drawing room. Sojiro was still in deep conversation with a Robin. Perhaps he hadn't heard her calls.
都会の孤独は万人に平等だ。一見して身勝手な暴力じみた押し着せの善意も長い目で見ればその人のためになる。
なるほど、親切の押し付けには一銭もかからないっすからね。ちゃんちゃん人助けするっすよ。
うん。ただより高いものはないって言うけどね。
どっちっすかこのシャバゾン。
Aoko was so intent on eavesdropping, she'd completely forgotten that she'd come to pour a cup of tea. There was no way she could ignore such a suspicious conversation.
こうも言うんだ。幸福になりたければ、初めは恨まれてもいいと。やれ金を返せだの詐欺師だの言われても、いずれその人のためになると分かっていれば、心を鬼にできる。人に尽くしている喜びが後ろめたさとか帳消しにするらしい。
それ知ってるっす。でも微妙に違うような。
Aoko agreed with the Robin in this case. Sojiro was referring to the words of a famous entrepreneur. If we want to find happiness, let's stop thinking about gratitude or ingratitude and give forward the inner joy of giving. That was the actual quote.
あるいはこうとも。貯金のある人はその富を温存するよりも会社がより豊かになるために使うべきだと。
それも知ってるっす。でももう完全に違うような。
Aoko was becoming upset with how much she was agreeing with the Robin at this point. This was a quote from an even more famous entrepreneur. Surplus wealth is a sacred trust which its possessor is bound to administer in his lifetime for the good of the community. This was how that one was supposed to go.
信じられるのはお金だけなのかもしれない。だって奥さんも子供もずっと一緒にいてくれるわけじゃない。不幸な事故で先立たれることだってある。でもお金は別だった。お金で幸福は買えないけど、幸福はお金になる。今は人の親切と温かい布団があればそれでいいと、その人は言った。
なんか無性にらしくないこと言ってるわね、あいつ。
Yeah, what is he talking about? Why is he saying this? What? Though his words were a bit strange and worrisome, Aoko couldn't spend much time worrying about it. I was like, what is Sojiro saying? Like, oh, yeah, why is he saying money is different? What happened to him? She didn't have the capacity to worry about anyone else right now. Her battle with the enemy, Mage, was always lurking just beneath the surface.
どっちにしろ、私には関係ないか。
Aoko shrugged it off and turned her attention away from the drawing room. She told herself that she would forget about all this commotion by tomorrow anyway. And then tomorrow we're gonna see a lot of money again.
ただいま。
Okay, here we go again. Sojo was back from his job with a smile on his face again today. Work really was its own reward. His mood was infectious and Aoko smiled back while relaxing on the sofa.
はい、お疲れ様。休んでていいわよ。今日は昼からずっとバイトだったんでしょ？夕飯ならこれから作って、何？
Her smile suddenly turned frigid.
ん？どうした青崎？木の実の冗談を聞いた時みたいな顔して。
What happened?
どうしたじゃない！いい加減黙っていられなくなった！いいから、そのポケットのもん出しなさい！
Sojo reached in and pulled out the contents of his pockets without knowing why he was being scolded. Whoa! He placed a now all too familiar brown envelope on the table. It was far too thick to be any normal envelope. It was bright, enticing, almost magical. Yeah, like look at this 10,000 yen bills. It's not just one. There's a lot of them. There was nothing else it could be than a stack of cash.
まあ、これはどうしたの？しずきくん。
Alice innocently asked Sojo. Didn't Alice notice it in the beginning? Or maybe she just noticed it now? She was a bit dazzled at the sight, but there was no mistaking it for an illusion. I mean, she's really rich though. But yeah, it's funny how she reacts though.
バイト代だよ。
Yeah, what kind of part-time job do you have, sir?
そう。それはいいことだわ。明日はごちそうね。
The two remained calm despite the abnormally large wad of cash before them. That being said, the one with the most common sense in the house finally had to speak up. Yes.
んなわけないでしょ！ちょっと宗十郎、そこに正座！どういうことか説明なさい！
Aoko is like the wife here. Okay. Explain where you got the money. She knew more than anyone how serious this was.
説明って何をだ？
決まってるでしょ！この札束の正体よ！あんた今何やってんの？どう考えても真っ当な職種とは思えないんですけど！
まっとうだぞ。この新しいバイトは少なくとも法には触れていないと聞いた。ちゃんとやれば危ない目にも合わない。
Oh, maybe he's actually doing the, what do you call it, the host job? Like, weren't they like talking about it the other day? Or no, oh yeah, they were talking about it in one of the episodes, right? Maybe he's doing that. He's being a, what do you call that, in a cabaret club? But for men, what do you call that? But yeah, host. Maybe he's doing that. That's why he has a lot of money now.
コンビニエンスストアより割がいいし、俺でも簡単にできるという。
Unbelievable. Aoko was just about dizzy with rage by at this point. At least not illegal. That's like when an obviously drunk person tries to contend that they're indeed quite the contrary.
正気に戻れ！日ごとお金が倍々に増えていくバイトなんてあるわけないでしょ！いいから仕事の内容を言いなさい！内容を！あんたどう考えても騙されてるから！
Sojiro kept his mouth shut. He didn't seem to be too threatened by Aoko's reprimand.
ダメだ。いくら青崎でも教えられない。あんまり人に話すことでもない。
Dude, it's definitely that. He's in a host club, something like that. He's earning a lot of money, come on. Every night? Every night he's earning that amount of cash?
でも安心してくれ。分類的にはちょっとした人助けと言えるだろう。あと、紹介してくれた人とは一度しか会ってないし、支払いは常に現金だ。
この田舎バカ！その文脈からして怪しすぎるんだっていうの！
Aoko stomped her foot in frustration. But who could blame her after hearing the standard lines for a scam? It's a new job, the pay is good, anyone can do it, and I'm not supposed to talk about it. Despite all that, Sojiro was still refusing to spill the beans. They hadn't known each other for that long, but Aoko was well aware of Sojiro's personality. Steadfast explained him well. Once he made a decision, nothing could make him change his mind about it. At times like this, it was near impossible to get him to talk.
厄介な。
Aoko backed off, realizing it would be a challenge to get him to say anything at this point. Sojiro couldn't figure out what was upsetting her.
なんで青崎は怒ってるんだ？
Aoko decided to give up on getting anything useful out of him.
そんなうまい話はないからよ。アリスもそう思うでしょ？
そうね。青子の言いたいことはわからないけど、しずきくんはもっとやるべきだと思う。
Look at her face. I think he can do more. And look at Aoko's face now. And so Alice contributed absolutely nothing useful. I mean, for Alice, if Sojiro is gonna make more money, he can make better food and much more food. So for Alice, that's good. Aoko collapsed onto the
青
sofa.
崎、
いいわよもう。よくわかんない理由で話す気ないんでしょ、宗十郎は。考えてみれば、あんたなんてただの同居人なわけだし、私があれこれ文句言う筋合いはなかったわ。
Aoko shooed Sojiro away with her hand. Unfortunately, she wasn't going to be able to sit there and stew like she wanted to. She couldn't just ignore the problem like Alice.
あいつはどう見ても騙されてるし、最終的にとばっちり食らうのは私だし。
What do you mean in the end it's gonna affect me too? She needed to be bold and make him quit his new job of this immediately. It was true, it was what a true friend would do. And it was also her duty as a student council president. However, there's a however. Aoko started to think otherwise. Morals and a clear conscience were important, sure, but for a student living solely off their parents' generosity, that kind of money was hard to pass up.
そうね。最終的に辞めさせるのは絶対にしても、これまで稼いだお金を捨てるのはもったいないし。仕方ない。ここは絡め手でいくか。
The wicked, scheming student council president sank deeper into the sofa. Her ability to play things by ear and her miserly nature were both her strongest and weakest points. I think Aoko is gonna investigate this. The next day, noon, she's gonna follow Sojiro. For sure. And she's gonna be like, what are you doing? Aoko waited until her roommates were gone and then picked up the phone in the foyer.
もしもし、飛丸？宗十郎がこんなことになってるんだけど、あんた心当たりない？
Imagine if Tobimaru was the one who suggested this job to him. Imagine that. The sound of the first train leaving the station could be heard afar off in the distance. This was a time of morning when the town was deciding if it felt like waking up or not. Tobimaru Tsukiji was having a walk down the city streets at sunrise, enjoying the fresh, crisp morning air.
ほんと、街ってのは人間がいないだけで綺麗なもんだ。
The crowds had become a common complaint of Tobimaru's. To him, the tacky, over-decorated street corners were the embodiments of human desire. At this time of day, the streets were nothing like the circus tent of activity they usually were. The main street was completely empty. It was like a lonely, tranquil morning after a festival. Weary men in black were busy cleaning up and restoring order in the bars after the previous night's revelry. Around the back entrance of the local restaurants, the kitchen crew were busy bringing in their daily ingredients while stifling back tired yawns. Birds carelessly wandered the streets. There wasn't even a sound of a single car engine to be heard. This was a uniquely refreshing sensation that could only be felt from a city morning. It existed somewhere between daily and life exciting entertainment. This was the only time of day when the bustling modern world is stepped aside.
そうか。
Tobimaru searched through his coat pockets but only found some old receipts. He rearranged a scarf around his neck to keep the cold wind at bay. Meandering through the city streets, he'd ended up at Central Park just as the morning magic began to fade. His stroll had no particular purpose. It wasn't for his health or anything like that. He was merely making his way home after a night out of town.
バカらしい。何やってんだか。
Tobimaru had a moment of unabashed self-reflection as he drank a can of vending machine coffee. He didn't particularly hate partying all night long, but it was pretty boring since he still wasn't old enough to drink alcohol. He'd been at it for a few days now, thinking it was at least better than being at home, but he was quickly growing bored of it.
ま、年末に親戚筋が集まるのは仕方がねえし。
He grinned really at his own lame excuse. It was true that he was out wasting time like this because he didn't really have a place to go home to at the moment. The Tsukiji family always had a congregation of relatives over a New Year's Day as per his grandfather's orders. I mean, yeah, if you're a very big family like that. This was why his siblings and other relatives had been staying over at the Tsukiji home for a few days now. If Tobimaru was there, he'd just provide fuel for the fire. He decided to avoid the family drama and not go home while everyone was there. They'd just greet him with insults anyway. And if someone tried to start a fight, he knew he wouldn't be able to resist the bait. It would only cause even more resentment and trouble for his father. So for Tobimaru, there was nothing more pointless or less enticing than getting involved in his siblings' squabbles over the inheritance. Okay. So I'm actually playing a game now, or another like visual novel. That's pretty much this is the thing. Inheritance, family inheritance. They have a meeting as well. If you know Umineko, yeah, Umineko when they cry. Tobimaru Tsukiji was the fifth-born son to the Tsukiji family, which owned multiple plots of land in Misaki City. However, most of that land had been acquired after the war. Before that, they had been a minor noble family on the brink of ruin. The man who built the Tsukiji family into its current glory was Kimikuni Tsukiji, Tobimaru's grandfather and the current patriarch. Kimikuni, nice name, married into the struggling Tsukiji family and saved them after they lost all their power during the war. The Tsukiji clan were a local Shinto clergy and relied upon Kimikuni's financial assets. Kimikuni, on the other hand, had leveraged clan connections to establish himself in Misaki City. While both parties came together for mutual gain, the Tsukiji family failed to recognize how ambitious Kimikuni was when they accepted him into their family. He wasn't the obedient son-in-law they had imagined. He had grand plans of his own, growing and developing industries within Misaki City and many other areas as well. Kimikuni controlled all of these areas not as a member of the Tsukiji family but under his own name. A castle's greatest defense was its moat, not the walls, and Kimikuni bridged the moat. It was the economic equivalent of starving out the enemy. Kimikuni's financial might subdued the noble Tsukiji family completely. In less than 10 years, there was no one in the family who could stand up against him. This businessman, accepted into the family as a mere son-in-law, had seized the Tsukiji name and the entirety of the family fortune. However, Kimikuni had fathered many children. He would not allow the Tsukiji bloodline to die out. That was also the only way to maintain the family fortune. His 3 sons and 1 daughter all married relatives of the Tsukiji family. Oh my god. Relatives of the family? Thus rendering the familial bonds that the Kimikuni had weakened. Tobimaru was the fifth son of Hitoyoshi Tsukiji, Kimikuni's oldest son. He's the fifth son? Fifth, so he's very, very far in line. However, his mother was not a member of the family. Tobimaru was the result of a fling with the mistress. Okay, but why is he there now? That ignoble birth defined his place in the family. He was his father's love child, although the family's dignity was somehow maintained since he was the son of Hitsuyoshi. It wasn't difficult to imagine the level of mistreatment Tobimaru faced from his siblings and other relatives. I mean, yeah, obviously. Being raised in such a hostile environment made Tobimaru grow up far faster than he should have. Like, sure, his father is technically the son, or let's say maybe the heir, right? And then yeah, he is gonna be in line because he still has his other siblings, but he's still up top there. But he is a, what do you call that again? A love child only. So yeah. His ability to think quickly and objectively was honed naturally within his challenging environment. However, those exact traits also brought Tobimaru a great deal of trouble. Kimikuni Tsukiji, unfortunately against all odds, this great leader of the Tsukiji family favored Tobimaru over everyone else, including his eldest son. So his grandfather liked him the most. Since Kimikuni had been a commoner himself, he did not believe in blood inheritance alone. To make matters worse, not a single coin from his great fortune had been given to any of his sons yet. The most loathsome thing in this world is the blood of the Tsukiji family. I never would have had any of you if I could have helped it. Those words are spoken at every family gathering, and they were the absolute truth. He'd taken a liking to Tobimaru after speaking with him at these annual family gatherings and enjoyed playing chess with him in his spare time ever since. Dude, if you're rich and your family is like this, always be good to the head, to your grandfather. Yes, win their favor. Everyone in the family was worried Kimikuni would name Tobimaru his successor. I mean, it's kind of looking like it based on this explanation. In this way, Tobimaru had gone from being worthless to a threat in the eyes of the Kimikuni sons. Yes. Are they even gonna allow that though? The son who felt the most fear and hatred was Tobimaru's own father, Hitsuyoshi, who would have been the unquestionable heir as the eldest son. Yeah. And this is how Tobimaru became estranged from his father. Jealousy. They no longer even lived in the same house anymore. Hitsuyoshi always acted like they had the great father-son relationship in front of Kimikuni. So yeah, just showing that they're good, right? So you could say that he could give the heir to the father first before passing it to Tobimaru in the future, right? He's just acting. But that would only last until his father was no longer around, or until Tobimaru was officially named the heir. When that happened, it would be all-out war. It's kind of dangerous, honestly. In any case, it would not be a pleasant story.
じいさんも空気読めねえからな。ほんと。
Tobimaru scratched his head in frustration. He really wasn't all that worried though. In public, it looked like they had a good father-son relationship. In private, they were in the midst of a bitter inheritance dispute. Things had always been that way even before he met Kimikuni. The only difference was his sole protector, his father, was now his mortal enemy. Tobimaru had always been at odds with his family. His father was just one more enemy to add to the pile. Staying out all night like this was Tobimaru's way of avoiding his family. If he was home, he knew they would try to gauge his feelings. However, they wouldn't openly attack him now. Even the relatives who looked down on him and his siblings who had bullied him as a child, the worst they could do was make snide remarks. Tobimaru was, at his core, a peaceful person who preferred to avoid trouble whenever possible. Petty revenge or even stepping up to Kimikuni's expectation weren't on his to-do list. His father's worries were unfounded, his relatives were getting riled up for no reason, and Tobimaru had no intention of stepping out of his role as the prodigal son. However, his siblings who were around the same age as him held a different kind of resentment. Perhaps they felt guilty for tormenting him all those years. Perhaps it was the result of their roles being reversed. He's going to get back at us one day. They lived in such fear of this that they didn't ignore Tobimaru.
そのくせ根回しはうまくねえときた。青崎ぐらいの大胆さで突っ込んでくるんならまだスリルがあるってもんだがな。
His family problems were simply a chore. They never really worried him much. He was used to human malice, although he nearly died from the physical abuse of his siblings, even though someone had once tried to kill him with true murderous intent. Jesus. Even though he had been exposed to how the elite, untouchable class of society treated others by his eldest brother. It was all such a pain in the ass. These were all the events that would change a person's outlook on life, but he always remained cool-headed. That was just how things were for Tobimaru. He had grown bored of his relatives getting worked up over nothing, or over everything, sorry.
まあ、そのあたりは人それぞれか。親父殿には同情するけどな。あのじいさんの息子なんて波の根性じゃ務まらねえ。
Tobimaru honestly could not care less about who would be the next heir. He had no clear plans for the future yet. His only real goal was to wash his hands of his family and start fresh when he became an adult. Until then, everything that had happened was a life experience. He continued his morning walk, thinking it was better to enjoy the nightlife now while he was still young. Someone was already sitting on the bench when Tobimaru entered the plaza. The crowds gathered there flew at his approach. On the bench sat a girl dressed in black. Was that Alice? A well-dressed old man with a cane sat with her. These were familiar faces, so he approached the bench to say hello. Where's Alice? The old man and the girl looked as if they were grandfather and granddaughter. He seemed like the kind of old man spending time with his grandchild. However, the truth was...
アリス、僕は今でも思うんだ。一体何がいけなかったのかって。考えられるサービスは全て実現させた。従業員への感謝も来園者への笑顔も忘れたことはない。なのに時代は僕を選ばなかった。それどころか僕の内なる芸術性を否定した。無念だ。死ぬがいい、腐った魚のようなマスコミどもめ。何が悪夢のクリーチャーか。あんな夢にまで見そうなマスコットが他にあるだろうか。いや、あるまい。なのに連中と来たらネズミを二足歩行させれば満足ときた。そもそも犬をペットにする齧歯類とか冷静に考えたら怖いぞ。動物が動物をペットにするなんてモラルが低いにも程がある。あそこはやはり人間をペットにするべきじゃないんだろうか。
Actually, the poor young woman was getting an earful from this old man. Who is this guy? After his outburst, he paused for a moment.
いや、これは失礼。ゆり彦よ、紳士たれ。
He scolded himself and hung his head. We're getting a lot of different stories. From Sojo earlier, getting his mysterious amount of large money, right? An insane amount of money. And then from Tsukiji learning his backstory. And now we have Alice with this old man. Who is this guy?
答えてくれ、アリス。一体僕のキッツィちゃんは何がいけなかったんだ？
Kitsy?
角よ。角をつけるべきだったのよ。
The girl in black returned the old man's solemn bow with a grim answer of her own.
いや、 つのはいけない。子供たちが怪我をしてしまうからね。僕は傷をつけるなら体ではなく心にしたい。
The girl nodded deeply, thinking over the implications of what this old man had just said.
さて、
Tobimaru didn't really want to get involved, but he was already too close. If he passed by without saying anything, the old man would certainly make a fuzz.
こんちは。こんな朝っぱらからじくじく公開中かい。時津のじいさん。いつまでも引きずってると死に損なうぜ。さっさと往生して息子たちを安心させてやんな。
So he really knows them, okay.
おや、どこの悪ガキかと思えばヨタカの子供か。
Chukiji's bratty black sheep.
おはようトビー。君も相変わらず早起きだね。
俺は朝帰りですよ。お二人みたいに健康的じゃない。そら、クオンジのお嬢さんもおはようさ。
The girl looked up calmly at Tobimaru's greeting. It was none other than the witch on the hill, Alice Kuwanji.
こうしてまともに挨拶するのは2年前のパーティー以来か。何にせよ珍しいな。あんたがお付きなしで町に降りてきてるなんてよ。
そうでもないわ。この時間の公園は鳥を入れ替えるのにちょうどいいから。一人で散歩によく使うの。
ほう、そりゃ驚いた。箱入り娘じゃなかったのか、あんた。
ええ。その証拠にあなたがひどい顔で歩いているのを何度か見かけたわ。遊び歩くのは結構だけど、青子に迷惑かけないよう気をつけなさい。
ご忠告どうも。肝に銘じておくよ。
Despite their casual greeting, Tobimaru and Alice rarely interacted, though their fathers were acquainted. Even so, the histories and spheres of influence of the two families were very different. Though the Tsukijis held sway in Misaki City, the Kuonjis influenced the whole of Japan. Normally, someone like Tobimaru would not be in the same social circles as Alice. The only reason they could interact like this at all was because they were both friends with both Aoko Aozaki.
バカな。トビー、君はアリスと友人関係だったのか。もしかして二人はステディな関係だとか言うまいな。やめたまえ。言ったら大事になるぞトビー。僕は心臓麻痺で急死しかねない。犯人は君であり凶器はアリスだ。
Okay.
無論死因はこう書いてくれ。そう聞くも無情な恋の病と。
I would say it isn't so.
クオンジのお嬢さんはどうしてこんなダメ老人と？俺と同じ親父関係の付き合いか？
この人とはペンフレンド。
Pen pal. What?
分不相応にいいアンティークを持っているから、青子と二人で少しずつ取り上げているの。
Despite this being one of the only times they'd really talk, Tobimaru and Alice both managed to completely ignore the old man.
参ったな。アリスは照れ隠しもチャーミングだ。ところで僕のことはユーリヒと呼んでくれていいんだよ。
Mr. Tokitsu gently took Alice's hand. Alice's face remained neutral like a doll's.
トッキー、私、いい絵付けのティーカップを探しているの。1900年代のラム工房のものとか。どうかしら。
あるとも。もちろんあるとも。今度おっかないお友達と遊びに来る時までに用意しておこう。
He responded to her request like an obedient marionette.
おいらくの恋って柄かよ。よくもまあ寝台潰さなかったもんだ、突版は。
You see, this old man was none other than Yurihiko Tokitsu. He was famous in Yashirogi as the former head of the Tokitsu Baking Company with factories all across Japan. He still served as an advisor.
老人とはなんだ。芸術家にとっての老いとは感性の凍結であり、しかるに我が心の火は絶えていない。僕はまだ暑苦しいくらいに若いんだ。つぼみのような少女と恋を語らう楽しみは残っているさ。この年になるともう世間体とかどうでもよくてね。女の子と話すことだけが人生の意味になるんだぞ。
若いのかじいさんなのか、どっちなんだよ。
おっと、失言。最後の方のは聞き流してくれ。僕が言いたいのは、女の子と穏やかな時間を過ごすのは最高ってことさ。トビー、そういうの君も好きだろ？
一緒にしないでください。あいにく俺は年上好みですよ。おまけに言うなら、二回り以上も年下の女に浴場する趣味もねえわけで。
それはそうだろう。君がやったら犯罪だ。トビーは17歳。その二回り下が何歳になるとか口に出したらいけないよ。
Mr. Tokitsu nodded his head in self-affirmation. He chose to ignore Tobimaru's off-color remarks. Tobimaru was reluctantly impressed with the man's magnanimity in the end.
ともかく挨拶はしましたから邪魔者はこれで消えますよ。あとは仲良し同士気兼ねなくどうぞ。
なんだトビー、これも縁だ。ゆっくりしていけばいい。なんなら今から僕の別荘に来るかね。ヘリコを呼ぶよ。楽しいぞ。
いや、お気持ちは嬉しいんですけどね。知る人が見ればとんでもなくブルジョワなメンズでしょこれ。今は避けたい気分なんですよ、そういうの。
Tobimaru's choice of words made his present situation clear to Mr. Tokitsu, and he reluctantly backed off. Such intuitive understanding made it obvious how this man had expanded the Tokitsu Baking Company nationwide. He had divined Tobimaru's complicated family situation in an instant.
ミックによろしく。そろそろ引退して子供たちと仲直りするよう僕が言っていたと伝えてくれ。
はいはい、ぬかに釘だろうけど伝えておきますよ。じゃあな、クオンジュさん。また朝に出会うことがあったらその時は改めて挨拶させてくれ。
Alice's silence neither encouraged nor discouraged this. Tobimaru shrugged and left the plaza. He walked leisurely away from the park and came to an area of the city that was under redevelopment. There was a radio tower under construction there that the Tsukiji family had a hand in, but most of the capital for that project was funded by foreign firms.
この電波塔は10年先を見越してのものです。いずれ携帯通信は目まぐるしい進歩を遂げるでしょう。まずはそのモデルケースとして私どもの技術を三崎市に普及させたいのです。
The man from the foreign firm shook on the deal with Tobimaru's father, Hitoyoshi.
いずれは娘も三崎市に住まわせようと思っています。その時はあなたの息子さんとも ぜひ交友を深めて。
He was a handsome man who had the calm command of a leader. The fact that he had offered up his daughter to Tobimaru showed that he had researched the Tsukiji family's inheritance issues well.
親父も舐められてるって気づけよな。親父より先に俺に色目使いやがって。クソヤンキーが。そもそも金髪女の相手なんざ願い下げだぜ。向こうで海兵相手にケツ振ってろってんだ。
Yankee. Tobimaru stopped in his tracks after these muttered complaints. He decided to stop himself before he said anything worse. He'd walked far enough already anyway. The sun was completely up now. There was nothing more to gain from wandering mindlessly.
戻るか。
He turned his back to the radio tower and began heading home. 1 hour later,
坊ちゃん、お電話です。
oh, Bochan. Tobimaru had returned to the Tsukiji residence. He took the phone from the housemaid.
もしもし、飛び丸？宗十郎がこんなことになってるんだけど、あんた心当たりない？
Also this is the time when Aoko called. Aoko Ozaki was on the line. That was never a good sign. Okay.
とまあこういうわけなのよ。
すげえな。安心できる要素が一つもねえ。
Look at Aoko's face. Sojiro seems caught up in a strange part-time job. I'll wait for you in Central Park to talk about it. 10 minutes had passed since he had received his call from Aoko and returned to the park. Tobimaru felt a light migraine coming on after hearing about the situation. The young girl and the old man from before were nowhere to be seen.
そんなこと言われるまでもなく分かってるわよ。私だって人のアルバイトにケチつけたくないけど、どう考えても普通じゃないでしょ。あんたあいつから何か聞いてない？
悪いな。期待には応えられん。宗十郎はバイトに関しては秘密主義だ。任されているからには他言はできないとかなんとかな。
そうなのよね。あいつ他人の事情に関しちゃ缶詰みたいに切りがたいから、ガキガキにされない限り口割らないのよ。
ほう、それは青崎にそこまで言わせるとはね。宗十郎も信頼されたもんだ。
どういう意味よそれ。
タイはね、言葉通りに受け取ってくれ。お前基本的に何にだって怒るだろ。そんな女が学校外で世話を焼くなんてよっぽど気に入ったのかと思ってな。
違うわよ。あいつが問題を起こしたら私たちにまで飛び火するじゃない。こんなの誰がどう見てもただのリスク回避でしょ。
なるほど、公務として見過ごせないってわけか。
そうよ。悪い？
いや悪かねえさ。むしろ尊敬するよ。ほんと鉄の生徒会長だぜ。休日だっていうのに学校の評判を守るためだけに働けるとは。
I mean, very true.
だけってところを妙に強調するじゃない。まあ事実その通りだけど。
Aoko's glare seemed to suggest that she wasn't interested in hearing any objections. This little bluff was rather charming to Tobimaru, who was well aware of Sojiro and Aoko's current living situation.
別に。しかしまあそういうことなら副会長として付き合わなくっちゃな。会長は学校のために宗十郎を調査する。俺はそのサポートをしつつ友人として宗十郎を気にかけるってことで。
Tobimaru said he would do as Aoko asked, but for some reason she did not seem satisfied.
じゃあそうと決まれば早速始めますか。青崎のことだから宗十郎の勤め先ぐらい突き止めてんだろ。住所どこだよ。
それが尾行したんだけどうまく巻かれちゃって。駅前から2丁目方面に曲がっていたのまでは確実なんだけど。
The vice president was used to this. He didn't bother saying anything about her going so far as to tell Sojiro.
2丁目か。あの辺りだとパチンコとゲームセンターぐらいしか思い当たらねえな。1日に何万も稼げる店なんざねえぞ。
そうなのよ。というか知ってたら私が試したい気分だわ。飛び丸、念のために聞くけど、三崎町にあるお金の稼げる遊び場ってパチンコだけよね。
あ、親父の話じゃ風営法に引っかかる賭場はねえとさ。三崎町の顔役は話のわかるおっさんで、クリーンな極道を目指してるらしい。パチンコ経営だけで満足してるって話だ。
うん、それは知ってる。一応確認しただけ。でもそうなるとますます謎ね。ギャンブル以外でお金を売買にしていく仕事なんてちょっと思い当たらないんだけど。
ああ、体でも売ってるとしか思えない羽振りの良さだ。一晩いくらみたいな。
Nothing except maybe selling his body. Maybe people are paying him for a night. What? There was a slight delay in Ako's reaction. It took her a few seconds to register what he was saying, but then her jaw dropped.
体ってあんた。
I mean, that's like one of the easiest ways to earn a lot of money, though. Yeah.
ほら、絵画のモデルとかバイト代は高いと聞くぜ。
I mean, yes, that what he said.
あ、うん、割はいいって言うよね。美大生ってお金持ちだし。そうよね。それぐらいなら別に。
まあヌードなのは当然だが。
I hear if her face is gonna change again.
結局裸じゃん。
Without any real information to go on, the conversation was quickly diverging further from the topic at hand. Without knowing the location or type of work, there really wasn't much to talk about.
明日もう一度総十郎を尾行するしかないわね。二人がかりなら見失うこともないだろうし。
そうだな。他に手がかりもねえし、明日にするか。宗十郎の羽振りがいいだけじゃどうしようも。羽振りがいい。
Tobimaro farted his bro. It seemed that he had thought of something. Let's follow him. His expression turned more dire by the second.
どうしたの、飛丸。
Yeah,
何か思い出した？
what happened?
ちょっとな。そういえば最近妙に羽振りのいいバカが一人いたなって。
Yeah, their best friend.
そいつ3日ぐらい前から金に明かして合コンし放題って話なんだが、頭の痛いことに宗十郎と同じクラスのバカなんだよ、これが。
The other idiot. There were a few seconds of silence. Ako nodded. She had put two and two together.
あいつね。
The two immediately left the park to go and find the suspect. I mean, he was the one talking about the stuff, right? Yeah, homie right here. But yeah, let's take a break here. But honestly, it's been fun. Dude, I love this game, honestly. Yeah. The normal interactions, it's not even about the magic or stuff anymore for me. Like, I'm much more enjoying this part where they're just having normal interactions with each other. Like the stuff with magic, mages, all the different stuff is like second-hand stuff for me now. Like, for me, this is much important. This is what makes it fun for me. Because I think, yeah, for most part of this game, or the things we've played already, it's, yeah, mostly the interactions between the characters, and it was just normal interactions, right? Not really about the magic mage stuff. Like, we don't really have any enemy right now. Like, sure, Alice and Aoko were talking about it, but said enemy hasn't appeared yet. We fought one, the puppet, and that was it, right? And then we fought Alice as well. But yeah, that was it. There was like, how many episodes was that? Like maybe like five episodes, or maybe 5-6 episodes. But other than that, most of the episodes were just conversations between characters, and it's fun. And for this one, we're trying to learn what Sojiro is actually doing, right? And yeah, that is the mystery. I thought this one was gonna be like maybe something super serious because of the name of the case, right? Carnegie case. But it turns out, we will just have to try and find out what Sojiro is doing and why is he earning a lot of money. And then for Tobimaru, learning about his his history, his background was good as well, and we now know more about him. So let's see what happens next episode. So we're gonna continue this and do more of Witch and the Holy Night in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.